Welcome to DS Tech Stuff, and we're talking power! No, this power. The PSU Seasonic Focus Plus 650 FX fully modular power supply. Now, the field of power supply units is huge, and which one to purchase can give you a headache. And the specs can vary from PSU to PSU. And if you're new to this, it can feel like you're in a minefield of techno-babble and RGBs. Yes, you can get RGBs on PS units. Now, the problem with PC components is a lot of people just look at numbers, and some numbers are important and some are not. Numbers can change depending on which piece of hardware is being used for which piece of hardware which is being used. Numbers can change depending on various pieces of hardware being used. Yes, that's it. Here is the Seasonic Focus Plus 650FX FM PSU, which will power Solomon's new desktop. It's fully modular, 650 watts of power, and is rated at 80 plus code efficiency standard. Now, this power supply is the blood of your system, and getting a good power supply is key to having a long-lasting, durable and reliable PC. Don't skimp out on a PSU. Let's get this thing opened. Okay, right, let's have a look at this. First, we have the user manual. Now, this user manual is well worth the read. It's very well detailed. It has all the instructions you need. It's in multiple languages, of course, but don't lose this. It does have vital information. Next, we have a sheet of paper with the cables that you get. Now, this is in Chinese, so don't worry about that. I already know what it has. We have the Seasonic guarantee. We have some zip ties and some Velcro straps, which is really good of them. You can never get enough of these cables, so that's very, very handy. We have the main power cable. We'll look at the cables more in detail later. We have the bag of cables, some cushion foam, and the main box in its own bag. Let's just put this down. Now, the dimensions of this is 140 millimeters wide by 150 millimeters long by 86 millimeters high, and it's very, very compact. Let's have a look at all these in more detail. Now, I know this is just a side note, but looking at this bag with all the cables, this is a little bit picky of me, but the bag with all these cables, I'm a little bit disappointed in. I like the one that Thermaltake comes in, which gives you. It's a lot harder, it's more wearing, it's a better bag for stashing cables. This looks and feels like a cheap Reebok knockoff wash and weekend bag. You can tell that within less than a year, this thing will start crumbling into dust. But that's just me. I'm a little bit picky. Now we have all the cables laid out to see. Here we have one main power cable. It's 610 millimeters long, and it's not a flat, flexible cable. A 24 pin is thick and has limited flexibility due to the nature of its usage. It is a black sleeved cable. We have one CPU 8 plus 4 pin power cable, 650 millimeters long, and this is for the 4-pin or 8-pin power connector on the motherboard. We have 3 PCIe 8 plus 6 pin cables, 750 millimeters long. We have 2 of these cables, and if you have a GPU with a dual power connector such as an MSI Duke GTX 1080 OC 8GB, which needs an 8-pin and a 6-pin, or a Galax GTX 1060 overclock, the 8-pin connectors are the ones for those. Now, the cables can be split as they are 6 plus 2, so you can have 2 6-pin connectors or 1 6-pin connector and 1 8-pin connector. And if you're thinking of going GTX 1080 dual card setup, probably go for the 850 watt PSU instead. We have 2 SATA cables. This one is 810 millimeters long, and they are flat black ribbon cables, and this has 4 SATA connectors. And this one is 570 millimeters long, and this has 2 connectors, so you have 6 SATA connectors altogether. We have one 690 millimeter Molex cable with 3 power connectors, helpful in case you have some old hardware you still need to use. And we have one Molex to floppy drive cable. Now, this is 101 millimeters long, so we have the Molex to floppy power 4-pin connector. And they are your cables. Now we have the unit in this very nice bag. Yes, it's the same material as the cable bag, but I feel the cable bag should just be a better quality, just like the thermal tape bag. It's a personal point, that's all. Now the electronics inside this main box is where all the magic happens to keep your desktop working and running well. This is what Seasonic calls cable-free connection design. First, it's FM. FM stands for fully modular. Now this means that all the usual cables are not physically attached to the main box. You attach and only use what you need. Now this saves having unwanted cables just flapping about in the wind, and in other words, you're not having to shove all the unwanted cables into the nearest darkest spaces left into the forgotten side of your beautiful PC, and cable management becomes a lot easier to deal with. And in the future, when you add something that needs a cable, you just then open up your case, rifle out the cable from the lovely accessory pack you need, and then pop the cable on the power box, put the cable onto the hardware, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, you're all ready to work. Adding the cable when you need to. And as you can see from the sticker on the main board, the PSU has 650 watts of power, but in actuality, your power supply will deliver what your system really needs depending on the load and activity. The best way to know what you're drawing from the wall at a given moment in time is use a watt meter like this. It'll tell you what your PC is pulling at that moment. The numbers will fluctuate as you're writing a letter, browsing the web, or playing games. Now the Seasonic is rated at 650 watts. Now that sounds like an awfully large amount of power! But your PC won't use that. The new desktop won't, and I'll show you when we have the build up and running. Now, how do you know how much power you really need before purchasing a PSU? Well, that's a really good question, and there are a few ways to find out. Look at every piece of hardware and find out what wattage they will draw. I know, that's very laborious. Or you can pop over to Coolermaster and Outervision and use their calculators. Their links are in the description below. Just choose from the list what your hardware is, and the calculator will work out the wattage and tell you what PSU you need. Just understand that Coolermaster will recommend one of theirs, but use it as a guide. Now when I did mine on Coolermaster, it told me I was going to have a load wattage of 399 watts and a recommended PSU wattage of 449 watts. Now using a rule of thumb, times 399 by 1.5 and you get 598.5. Interestingly, Coolermaster recommended the G650M bronze modular PSU. Now using Outervision, I chose the same hardware and it told me a load wattage of 408 watts. Now times that by 1.5 and I get 612. Outervision recommended the EVGA 650 watt BQ80 bronze SM. The only true way I'll know what Solomon's system is truly pulling is when I add a wattage meter between the wall and the desktop. Then we can show you what it's pulling on idle to full load. As the PSU will convert the AC to DC, you will lose some of the energy in the PSU due to the conversion process. Now this PSU is rated at 80 plus gold. So at 50% load, it will give me 90% of guaranteed power at a full load. 87% on 115 volts from the wall. Now if you're on 220 volts, then at 50% load, the PSU will deliver 92% and on full load, 88%. Now this will provide all the power I need for Solomon's desktop. It's solidly built, comes from a world-class PSU manufacturer who makes PSUs for Corsair and NZXT. Not too shabby. Never cheap out on a PSU. If it ever takes a dump, you can save yourself a whole lot of expense and very expensive replacements. If you get a very good PSU, it will last you a long time and save you many headaches. Inside where the cable modular management is attached, the cables, instead of attaching to a PCB first, they attach to a copper plate, which is then attached to the PCB. This has lowered production errors and also improved output quality of power, which is a great thing. Now on top we have the hybrid silent fan control. It's an advanced three-phase thermal control system which helps achieve optimal silence and cooling. The hybrid system functions in 3 operational stages: fanless mode, silent mode and cooling mode. The fan will come on when the power load hits 30%, and that means when you're doing something like graphic intensive operations. Writing letters, watching YouTube, browsing, no fan needed. The small button, the fan control button, can turn on and off the fan control system. If the button is out, then the system is in fanless mode. Really great for very minimal systems which need small amounts of power with no noise. Press the button in and you're in silent cooling mode where the fan always spins. The advantages of this hybrid system is extended fan life due to the reduced number of fan rotations. Now, this PSU has much better heat dissipation than the old previous models. It has excellent silent performance in fanless mode as the fans are not spinning. It's an ATX 12 volt PSU and the fan size inside is 120mm with a premium hybrid fan control and fluid dynamic bearings. The life expectancy is 50,000 hours at 40 degrees C, so if continuously ran for 24 straight hours, it will last for about 5.7 years. It has over voltage protection, has a warranty of 10 years, which is brilliant, and its weight is about 5.85 pounds or 2.65 kilograms. It's very minimalistic, which I like for a PSU, because really, at the end of the day, it's going to go inside your PC and you're not going to see it. So I like that very much. The one thing I absolutely love is the on-off button. Yes, I know it's a small thing, but it's important. Some of the cheaper Chinese knockoffs, PSUs, don't have them, and so it's important to have one. Just a simple on and off. When you're upgrading or building a PC, to have good earth, have the PSU attached to the PC via the cable. Have the power cord in the wall socket and in the PSU, and have the back button in the O position or the off position. Same with the wall. Or if you have an extension, have the button in the off position. This will ensure a grounded PC but no power going into the motherboard. It saves you from wearing an anti-static wristband if you don't like them and the PC is grounded, so it's safe for upgrading or building. If you have a budget desktop under $600 US, get a PSU less than 650 watts. Anything more expensive than the 650 watt PSU, I would recommend it. Especially if you're using anything from the Ryzen 1600X upwards or Intel i5 or i7s. And yes, this is the power supply I would get, which is what I have. Well, that brings us to the end of this review of the Seasonic Focus Plus 650FX FM PSU. It's about $89 US. Check the links below. Love this video. Pulverize the subscribe button, smash the like button, and comment like Shakespeare. If you didn't, like the video anyway, please. Just click like, thanks. Add any comments, but remember, share with the family and friends, and again, remember to subscribe by smashing that red subscribe button below. Questions and comments, very welcomed. And as always, it was fun doing this. It's a goodbye from me, and it would have been a goodbye from Solomon, but now he's back at school. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.